Brett Strong, Internet Skeptic. Series title, 60 Seconds or Less, where I utterly destroy the world's top Christian apologists in 60 seconds or less. Up next will be Lee Strobel in his book, Case for Christ. The book sold more copies almost than the Bible, like 100 million copies. Unbelievable. So it's called Case for Christ, Lee Strobel's book, a journalist's personal investigation of the evidence for Jesus. So he's at one time at that point he was a journalist who investigated Jesus, and he wrote a book about it called The Case for Christ. Well, right off the bat, I'm going to just tear away Lee Strobel's foundation, the whole Case for Christ foundation. I'm tearing it off right from the beginning. 4 BCE to 30 AD, as you all know if you follow my podcast series. 4 BCE to 30 AD knows nothing of Jesus. The New Testament Jesus is not found in that time period. He's supposed to lived in that time period and dominated and did all these miracles. Well, when you search history, he's not found. Not found. There's no trace of Jesus in that time period. Jesus does not exist in the time period he supposedly lived in. Go to Jerusalem, go to Nazareth, go to and see over there Israel, the top professors, the top institutions, the top museums, the universities. They'll all tell you Jesus is not found in that time period he supposedly lived in. There's nothing. They'll tell you, yeah, you can imagine Jesus lived during that time period and did all these things, but you can't back it with reality. You can't back it with fact. Jesus is not found in that time period. So the very case of Lee Strobel's book, The Case for Christ, the very foundation is fiction. He's selling fiction. He's selling fairy tales. He's selling his imagination and people's imagination. Because all you can do is imagine Jesus lived during his time, but you can't back it with proof of any, because he doesn't exist in it. We don't. That time period is empty of Jesus worldwide. Doesn't know anything of Jesus. So all you can do is imagine Jesus lived during this time and did these things. But you can't back it with fact. So the Case for Christ is done from the get-go. It's misleading. It's erroneous to sit there and say, hey, I got a case for Christ, when we all know it now, if you follow my podcast, that Jesus is not found in that time period. Not found. There's no artifacts, no writings, no scriptures, no empty tomb, no nothing. No nothing. All we have is writings decades later by a mentally ill guy named the Apostle Paul, who in Romans 7 said, hey, I'm an evil, sick dude. I'm a wretched guy. My arms and limbs, they make me do evil things. I can't help it. I just do evil. Well, that's mentally ill. I mean, if somebody sits there and says, my arm and legs are making me do evil things, that's mentally ill. Today, he would be like, yo, you need to see a psychologist. You could be in a psych ward. You know, we got medicine for this, Apostle Paul. You're a mentally ill guy. So that's the first source. Decades later, 4 BCE to 30 AD, nothing. Decades later, we got a mentally ill guy saying, hey, in 1 Corinthians 5:3, some guy, he admits, people sold me this ideal and I believed it. I got duped into believing it. And at some point, he has some visions of Jesus. But what do you expect? He's mentally ill. He even said, I didn't meet this New Testament Jesus. Somebody told me about it. Look at, just read 1 Corinthians 15:3. And at some point, he had visions because, of course, he's mentally ill. And decades later, we have anonymous books called the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Acts. They're anonymous. We don't know who wrote them. We don't know the date they're written, the origin. They're totally anonymous. And the central character of the Gospels and Acts is the central character of the Gospel is a superhero named Jesus. So we got so in the time Jesus doesn't exist in the time period he's supposed to live in. Doesn't exist. Decades later, we got a mentally ill guy saying, hey, man, somebody duped me into believing this, man. I had some visions. He's mentally ill. And decades later, we got some anonymous writings. The Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and the central character is a superhero. Come on, man. That's all we got. And he's taking that and saying, Jesus is real. Case for Christ. Jesus is real. Well, let me show you how outrageous what Lee Strobel has done. How outrageous it is. Just say he was a journalist today, and he used the same method, the same criteria, the same stuff he used to say Jesus is real. Just say today he was a journalist, and he put on the front page, mayor's having sex with a dog. This mayor of so-and-so city is having sex with a dog. And the leaders came to Lee Strobel and said, Lee Strobel, that's really outrageous, man. That's some far-fetched stuff. Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence to sit there and put on the front page that mayor's having sex with his dog? Where's your evidence? And if Lee Strobel said, well, You know that crazy guy down the street? You're the one that's always begging for money, and he's half naked, and he hasn't bathed in a year, and he's funky. Well, yeah, that crazy guy who got his clothes, and he pushes around, and that crazy guy, right? The one that everyone ignores when they walk by. Yeah, that crazy guy. I interviewed him, and he said that somebody told him that the mayor was having sex with a dog. And then I went through the garbage, and I found these anonymous writings. And these writings, I don't know who wrote them, where they're written, but these writings said that the mayor was having sex with a dog. So, hey, man, I investigated it, man. I interviewed the homeless guy, and he said somebody told him that. And I found these writers, and anonymous, I don't know who wrote them, but they said the mayor's having sex with a dog. And so I just put it out. And I spoke to some other people, and we all concurred, so I put it out their front page, mayor's having sex with a dog. Well, they would say, hey, Lee Strobel, you know, we like you. You're a nice guy, family guy, but what you just did is a travesty. What you did is illegal. You're fired. Forever. Don't ever come back here, dude. If Lee Strobel used the criteria he used for the case of Christ today as a journalist, he'd be disgraced. He'd be wearing a hood over his head in public all the time. People would just look at him like, damn, I can't believe you did that. Your evidence for the mayor having sex with a dog was a crazy man who said somebody told him, and some writings from the garbage, some anonymous dude. Lee Strobel would be disgraced forever. I mean, forever. That's how outrageous. just say Lee Strobel. Let's talk about some more how outrageous his method is to come to say, well, the case for Jesus is legit, is real. Just say he put on the front page. Just say he went to another city, somehow got a journalist's job, put on the front page, Congresswoman is a stripper at night. And the leaders came in like, hey, Lee Strobel, how did you come to that conclusion? Like, where's your evidence to say the Congresswoman is a stripper? You know, the Congresswoman, she's 85 years old. And now you're saying she's a stripper at night. Like, where's your evidence, dude? This is really far-fetched. This is really some crazy stuff. So we need to have your source. What's your evidence? And Lee Strobel, yeah, you know that crazy guy that gave me the information about the mayor having sex with a dog. Well, I interviewed him. I flew him in and interviewed him. And he said, hey, man, somebody told me that the Congresswoman was a stripper at night. That 85-year-old woman, that grandma, super sweet woman that cooks apple pies. Yeah, the mentally ill guy said somebody told him that she was a stripper at night. And then, you know, I went to a dump yard and found some writings and anonymous saying, yeah, the Congresswoman is a stripper at night. Spoke to some other people, and that's it. That's my source. Crazy man. And the garbage dump, some anonymous writings. And I talked to some people about it, and yeah, we all concurred, so I put it in front page. Congresswoman stripper at night. That's my evidence. I don't have any evidence. If you go to a strip club, no, you won't find any trace of this woman being a stripper. Nothing. But I interviewed the crazy man. He said somebody told him. And I went to the dump yard and I found some writings that said it. That's basic. That's all of it right there. That's my basic foundation. They would say, Lee Strobel, you're a sick individual. Lee Strobel, you're sick. Get out our city. Get out our state. Never to return. That's how bad the stuff he did in the case of Christ to sit here and say, for him to sit here and say Jesus is real, if he used that same method, that same criteria as a journalist today, he would be they'd be like, dude, never come, put a hoodie on when you come to this restaurant. He'd be like, don't even come to this restaurant, don't come to this city. That's how bad it is. That's how outrageous. And Lee Strobel's a nice guy, man. One day, hey, you know, we're going to have some shots. We'll go to Vegas and party together, me and Lee Strobel. Cool guy. But the book, the very foundation, it's imaginary. He's selling fairy tales. He's selling fiction. Jesus is not found in history. You can't investigate nothing. That's what he's talking. You can't investigate nothing. All you can do is imagine this stuff. And that's what Lee Strobel has done. He's imagined this stuff. Anyways, Brett Strong signing off. 60 seconds or less. Till next time, folks. Bye.